What's up, Kookaburra crew? Today I thought we'd do something a little different, and let's talk about the history of Magic. Magic has been around for over 30 years, and it started really as a side project and expanded into the massive game that we have today. So I figured it'd be fun to take a trip down memory lane and look at the origins of the game that we love. So join me as we go in our time machine and look back at the history of Magic. So Magic was designed by Dr. Richard Channing Garfield. He's a doctor. He's a mathematician who originally designed a board game to pitch to a newly developed company called Wizards of the Coast. Wizards appreciated Garfield's game, but was interested in something much more portable that people could take around and carry in their pockets. Since Garfield had been designing games since he was 13 years old, he took that challenge and pulled it together and pulled off what we know as Magic the Gathering today. So, combining all of his fun board game experience and previous ideas, he created Magic the Gathering. Now, a fun fact about Richard Garfield is he has created 4 special cards for life events in his life. The first one was Proposal. This is when he proposed to his first wife. Then he created Splendid Genesis and Fraternal Exaltation for his first and second child. And then lastly, he created Phoenix Heart to celebrate his second marriage in 2015. So in 1993, over 30 years ago now, the alpha set of Magic was released with 295 cards. Compare that to the over 10,000 cards that we have today, 295 cards. And it was actually a very limited print run, only about 2.5 million cards. Of course, Alpha is the most sought after and valued set for collectors, and believe it or not, an original mint condition Black Lotus, which is the most well-known card in Magic history, sold for an astonishing $3 million in 2024. That's just insane. Now, Alpha didn't last very long. Right after Alpha, after that August release of the Alpha, Beta and Unlimited came almost right after, in the fall and winter of 1993. Now, they added in 1993 in December, the Arabian Nights expansion. This is the first expansion that came into the Magic the Gathering universe, and I thought was really cool to add more cards into this universe. In 1994, Revise was introduced, which is actually where I joined the Magic the Gathering family. And it came with some more expansions, Legends, The Dark, and the most underwhelming set ever, Fallen Empires. I still remember being so disappointed as a kid when all I could find were packs of Fallen Empires because nobody wanted them. During this time period, tournaments really started kicking in, and you started having more people gathering together and ranking themselves for playing Magic. When I started playing, there was 2 types of tournaments available. There was the Type 1 tournament, which was pretty much any card that was printed all the way back that didn't really have any restrictions whatsoever, except for the banned and restricted list, where you could only have one of each card type in your deck or something of that nature. And then there was Type 2, which has evolved and grown into what we know as our standard format today. It's based on the last few sets that were released. The official first Pro event took place in 1996 in New York and has actually continued annually ever since. So Magic continued to grow and blossom its bloom and reach and popularity through the rest of the 1990s, with a ton of new cards and mechanics being introduced into the game. And the lore of Magic really started kicking in. So much so that novels were even produced about this game. So if you want to go back and look at some game lore novels, there are novels from the 90s that are out there around Magic the Gathering. We also received our first video game adaptation of the card game in 1997, which was published by Microprose. I loved this game when I was a kid. It was awesome, and for the first time in my history of playing Magic, I actually could use the Moxes and the Black Lotus because they were included in the game. After the turn of the millennium, Magic had hit its peak in the tabletop world, and Hasbro decided to capitalize on it, buying Wizards of the Coast for $325 million in the end of 1999. The once small tournaments that we knew back in the early to mid 90s turned into a global phenomenon, with champions prize money jumping up to an astounding $100,000 in the year 2000. In 2002, Magic the Gathering Online launched, giving players the ability to play online with each other around the world for the first time. Through the odds, tons of new sets were released, adding to the depth and strategies players had at their disposal, though this started introducing what we know as the power creep. And this continues to this day, where cards from the previous decades are no longer really viable in competitive play. New formats were also being introduced during this time period, with Commander leading the casual play, although it wasn't considered an official format until 2011. Draft play also became more and more popular. This made it a little easier for new players to come in and was much more accessible from a financial perspective because you could draft from a single set. With Commander launching in 2011, the 2010s took on a new shape for the game, with stark contrast in playstyles between the casual players and the competitive players. Competitive Commander, known as CEDH, grew and tied strength to the Commander format, but with many more casual players enjoying this Commander format, CEDH to this day is still not an officially sanctioned type of gameplay. This frustrated some of the longtime players, seeing more casual players come into the game with their highly competitive rules of 4 and things of that nature, taking a back seat to more casual gamers. But Wizards took on advantage of the casual gamers and really expanded the Commander experience and focused a lot more on that set. Again, frustrating some of the longtime players that were used to their standard style of play. Of course, Commander has a 100-card deck, whereas Standard only has a 60-card deck, and in Commander you can only have one of each card, each uniquely named card, and in Standard you can have up to 4. So there's a lot of difference between the different playstyles, and those are the two that really dominated the way Magic is playing, all the way up to today. But this was part of the growing pains of the company. However, in 2013, Magic the Gathering alone for Hasbro is rumored to have brought in about $250 million worth of revenue in 2013. That's a lot. That's a lot from a single card game. Now, Magic introduced some new direct sale cards coming in 2019 as we get closer to modern day, and those were called the Secret Lair cards. Now, these are highly collectible cards with limited runs, and man, they have had some cool mashups. This started bringing in mashups with other intellectual properties like Walking Dead or Princess Bride. While this paved the way for the Magic the Gathering world to introduce Universes Beyond, which came in February of 2021, some players were very frustrated with this because they're like, it really doesn't fit into the Magic lore, the Magic universe. So Universes Beyond was kept kind of separate. However, you can't argue with the success of Universes Beyond. In 2023 alone, the Lord of the Rings set brought that $250 million from 2013 up over $1 billion in 2023, owing a lot of that to the Lord of the Rings release. And that one-of-one ring that we all were hoping we would get in 2023 actually sold for $2.6 million to Post Malone. That's just insane. So that brings us up to present day, where you have a ton of new sets being released almost every other month, it feels like. You've got Universes Beyond being brought into the Standard. This is just an amazing time to be part of the Magic the Gathering team. So exciting future holds for us. See what happens as we continue on. But there you go. There's a brief history of the game we know and love. Some of the decisions were painful. Some of the decisions were just for profit. But there's no getting around that this game has lived for over 30 years and is still going strong today. Hope you enjoyed this little trip down memory lane with me, a little brief history of Magic the Gathering. Thanks for watching and subscribe for more.